Hi, in this tutorial we'll explore text effects in Photoshop. We'll talk about the Type tool, the warp text, artboards, layer effects, custom shape tool, type on a path, and clipping masks. Let's start by opening a new document. Go up to the File menu and select New. Starting with my unit of measurement, I'll change that from pixels to inches. And in the width box, we'll change it to 5 inches wide by 3 inches high. And let's make sure that we have a check mark in the Artboards box. We'll change the resolution to 300. And I can keep a white background. Click Create. And now we'll save our document. Go up to File, Save As. Navigate into your Adobe Design Suite folder. Make a new folder titled Lab 09 PS text effects. Open up that folder. We'll change the type of format to a TIFF. I'll highlight the untitled -1, put your last name, -09 PS text effects .tiff. You want to make sure you have layers on. Click the Save button, and then OK for TIFF options. Yes, it's okay to include layers. T on your keyboard takes us to our Type tool. Okay, so wherever you click on your canvas, you're going to create the starting point for your text to be inserted. You'll see that it puts some placeholder text in there. It's currently formatted to all of the options I have previously selected. So I can start retyping here. You can put your name in. You can give me a different word if you'd like. Not a swear word, please. Okay, so we're just going to format this text how we want it. You'll see that I do have my character formatting showing in the top options bar up here. So I can always toggle the text direction right here from vertical to horizontal. And I can change the font. Font size. And then you also have your alignment, left, center, and right align. In Photoshop, it has this ability to, when you hover your mouse over the font size right here, the T's, you'll see little arrows show up next to the cursor finger. And then I can click and drag my mouse. If I go to the left, it decreases. Now if I wanted to open up my whole character or paragraph panels, I can hit this icon over here in the options bar, and then I can get all of the full character and paragraph editing capabilities from in here. So I can see that my tracking is a bit high, so I might want to bring that back down to 0. And then I can bring up my font size a little bit bigger here. I can change the color of my font. If I click in this color thumbnail right here, I can also do that from the top portion. So that's our basic formatting for this word. But what we'll do next is add some warp text effect to it. And you'll see up in your options bar when you have your type tool selected, you'll see the warp text icon. If I click that, it opens up the warp text dialog box. So right now I don't have an effect applied, so my style says none. I'm going to change that, and you'll see you have different options in here. And you can play with it a bit before committing. This is a non-destructive way to warp your text. And you'll see different styles have some different options. And you can play around with those sliders to get it how you'd like it. Hit OK when you're done. And now I can see in the layers panel that my type layer right here now has that warp text icon applied to it. So if I ever wanted to go back and either take this off or adjust my warping, I would just want to be on my type tool, have that correct layer selected, and then I can go back up to the warp text icon at the top. I can make my adjustments or change the style back to none to remove it. All right, let's save it. If I want to move my text, right now I'm on my type tool, so if I clicked inside here, it's going to think I want to create another layer of text. So you would need to go up to your move tool, and now I can click this, I can move it around, I can do any kind of transforming to it that I'd like. I'm just kind of centering it a little bit here. Okay, so now we're going to apply some layer effects. So let's go into our layer panel, and I'm going to double click in this solid gray area on my type layer. And that opens up my layer style box. Make sure that you have your preview box selected so you can see what the styles are applying as you go along. I could try a bevel and emboss. So I just clicked bevel and emboss, but it technically didn't change my menu here. I have to also click on the word bevel and emboss for my options menu to change. So I could play around with outer bevels versus inner bevels, embossing, you could do different techniques, chiseled hard or soft or smoothed. I could add a drop shadow. So I'm going to go down to my drop shadow, check the box, and then also select the words drop shadow. And I'll play around with my distance, bring that out a little bit. I could adjust the angle of the drop shadow right in this circular tab here. Okay, so when you're done, hit OK. And now if you look at your layers panel, your original type layer has a warp text icon applied, and it also has those layer style effects that we just applied. My bevel and emboss and drop shadows. So if I ever want to go back in and remove those or edit, I can just double click through my layers panel, make my adjustments, and then hit OK. All right, let's save it again. And for our next section, we're going to create another artboard for this document. We can do that through our layers panel. I'm going to go to the hamburger drop down menu in my layers panel, and we can go to new artboard. And we can name it Artboard 2, and we can keep the size the same measurements that it already was. So I can hit OK. Now you can see that Artboard 2 is over here to the right. On this next part of our lab, we're going to use our custom shape tool, create a custom shape, and then type on a path to apply text around our new object. So U on your keyboard will take you to your shape tools. If I press and hold my shape tools down, the one we're looking for is the custom shape tool. It's at the bottom of the list. When you select that tool, you'll see at the top in your options bar you have a shapes library that shows up. I can click to open that, and you should have a lot of different shapes to use. If I keep scrolling down, I have some additional folders of different shapes in here as well. So I'm going to choose a shape, and then I usually kind of click up at the top to collapse that menu. And now I can see that my cursor is a crosshair. So I'm going to start dragging open my shape. Right now I don't have any keys held down, so I can distort the shape size, but if I hold my shift key down, I can keep it proportional. And once I'm ready and good with the sizing, I'm going to release my mouse key first and then the shift key. So here's my shape. If I look up in my options bar, I can see it has a white fill and no stroke. So just so I can see it a little better, I'm going to choose a different colored fill. And what we'll do next is switch back to our type tool, and we'll apply the text around this shape. So I'm going to go back to T, to my type tool, and let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so when I hover right over the edge of this shape, you'll see that your cursor changes. It has a little wavy line inside of it. So that's going to be my insertion point for my text. I'm going to click and release. And it actually just put some text in the same character formatting I had used before, so it looks really big. I'll open up my character panel, and then I can adjust the size of my text. I'll bring my font size down. Getting better. And I can also just type in a different word. Okay, so there I see my text appears. Hello. I'm going to select all my text by doing a Command or Control A. And I'm going to bring my baseline shift back to 0. Maybe change the color. And I also want to flip it to the other side of this path. Right below the type tool and above the shape tools, you'll see an arrow tool, path selection. If I hold that down, I can see the white arrow that's underneath it, the direct selection tool. I'm going to select the direct selection tool. Now, when I hover over my text, my cursor gets double arrows on each side. I'm going to drag it upward to kind of flip it from inside the shape to outside of the shape. And I can see I have these little tick marks that are following me. So that's changing where the alignment of the text is on that shape. So I'm going to maybe pick a spot maybe over here. And what you could also do is adjust your baseline shift in your character panel. If I go down, I can kind of bring it down more into the shape, but still keep it vertically aligned, or I can bring it out from the shape a little bit too. I'm going to close that icon. And that's how we can apply type on a path. We made our shape first, kept it selected, switched to our type tool, hovered over the path boundaries, and then it was able to apply that text to the object. So maybe I'll put a bolder font on there. And I'm going to bring my tracking in a little bit. Font size up. And now I can add some layer style effects. So I double click on that layer. I could give it a bevel and emboss. Maybe a satin overlay. I'll hit OK on my layer style. And now I see those layer style effects appear underneath the hello layer. So I can always double click to get back to those options or turn the eyeballs on and off. So that's Artboard 2. we're going to make another new artboard. So we should probably save first. File, save. On to artboard number 3. In my layers panel, I'm going to go to the hamburger menu, down to new artboard. Keep it named Artboard 3. Hit OK. And I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can navigate over to Artboard 3. Then I can zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to move my character panel out of the way a little bit here. So on Artboard number 3, we are going to clip an image inside of the text using what's called a clipping mask. This tends to work better with bigger, bolder, thicker fonts, but it will work in any kind of font. So I'm going to go to my type tool, T. I'm going to click inside of Artboard number 3, and you could type out your word. And then select the entire word. Again, a bold, thick font is probably gonna be your best bet. I'm gonna increase the font size here, and I'm gonna do in all caps. If I need to readjust the positioning of the text, I can always go back to my Move tool. Move it around. But I go back to my Type tool if I want to change the character formatting. Double click will select the entire word. Okay. Now we're ready to insert a picture to be clipped inside of this text. So I'm going to open up a new picture. I can go to File. It's blocking me right now because it wants me to apply or discard changes that I was creating to the text. So I'm going to apply. Let's go to File, Open, navigate into your Adobe Design Suite folder, and then into your Photo Library folder. Select an image to use, and then click Open. It will open the image in a new tab. And then I can make a selection of the area I want to copy over. So I'm going to go to my rectangular marquee tool and make a selection. I'll go back to my Move tool. And I can copy it and paste it. I can also click inside the selection, hover over my other tab, and then release my mouse once I get on top of Artboard 3. So I can see that it added a new picture layer. I need to adjust the size of this picture on here a little bit, so I'm going to Command T to transform, and that large bounding box, that's the dimensions of my picture. So I need it to be a lot smaller here. I want it to be able to at least cover the width of my word, so that looks like that should work. And then I'm also going to hover it on top of where the word is. So I'm hiding the word with my picture right now. I need to apply that transformation. So I hit the check mark up at the top there. And then using my layers panel, I'm going to right click on the image. So you need to have your image layer directly above the text layer that you want to clip it into. I'm going to right click on layer 1 and go down to create clipping mask. And now you should see that your picture has been clipped inside your text. I'm still on my move tool and I have the image layer selected up here. You can see it now has this downward pointing arrow to the type layer beneath it. So if I have the image layer selected, I can move around that image and reposition it. I could also transform it, Command T, if I wanted to resize it or anything. Shift here will distort your image. If I don't hold Shift down, that keeps it proportional. So I'm going to apply that transformation by hitting the check mark at the top. Now I can save it. And I'm going to select my text layer, and I can add a drop shadow. I could do a bevel. Maybe a satin feature again. I can hit OK. And then we'll save it. So you'll submit just this single TIFF file. You don't need to zip it. This one TIFF has 3 separate artboards. So on Artboard 1, we applied a warped text effect and also some layer style effects. On Artboard 2, we used the custom shape tool to create a shape and then applied text to the path of that shape, and also applied some layer style effects. And then Artboard 3, we used a clipping mask to put a picture inside of the text, and then also applied layer style effects. So that is Photoshop text effects.